Meet Emma and Steve. They're the same age, from the same town, but grow up to find themselves in very different circumstances. To understand why, let's take a closer look. Steve was raised by foster parents in a council flat, while Emma grew up in a middle-class area just down the road. They went to the same school, but their teachers gave them very different opportunities and feedback. They were both a bit rebellious as teenagers and even did a little shoplifting here and there. Their efforts couldn't make it past a hawk-eyed Mrs. Freeman, though, who let Emma off with a few sharp words, but reported Steve to the local police. That night, she told her husband, "I let the girl off because she seemed really upset, but the boy from the council estate just didn't seem bothered." They both smoked a little weed here and there too, but it was only Steve that the police stopped and searched. A few years later, there was a protest against a new shopping centre in their town. Emma and Steve both went along, and both were shocked by the violence. They both turned up in the local paper the next day, but their pictures told very different stories. In the harder times, Emma and Steve both self-harmed. Emma's parents were distraught when they found out and quickly got her some treatment. Steve's foster parents were worried too, but they believed him when he said he'd just hurt himself on some barbed wire. Emma and Steve both visited their GP, who told Steve to stop drinking and taking drugs, but sent Emma for some counselling. Their behaviour at the protest saw them both in front of a judge. As Emma had no prior convictions, he let her off with a warning. Steve, however, went straight to jail. Steve was out in time for a huge party. Seemed the whole town was there. A perfect night spoiled when a local gang kicked off. Both Emma and Steve were beaten by the gang and left with cuts and bruises, but the police treated Emma as a victim and Steve as a suspect. Steve was wrongly picked out of the lineup and his revolving door prison career began. The treatment they received at these key points in their lives has sent them down very different paths. With his criminal record, Steve spends long periods in prison with no adequate treatment for his mental health problems, whereas Emma is diagnosed with post-traumatic stress disorder and depression. She regularly sees a counsellor as she struggles to cope with the traumatic experiences in her life. Their differences in race, gender, and class have shaped their experiences in society and the way that they were treated by the mental health and criminal justice system, viewing Emma as ill and Steve as a criminal.